Welcome back, my dear followers, or welcome if it's the first time that you are watching my YouTube channel, My Paranormal and Mystery TV. My name is Erika, but my artistic name is Rose Tomb. Today, I want to make you enter and discover the most haunted, cursed, and infamous hotel of the world. I'm talking about Hotel Cecil in Los Angeles. And the videos I'm going to make you watch in a few minutes talk by themselves, so you can understand why this is the most haunted hotel ever. Cecil Hotel was built in 1924 and it has to be a magnificent hotel. But then there was in 1929 the Wall Street crash. And even if many stars, celebrities, important people kept on going and staying in Cecil Hotel, there was the hotel already got a bad fame because there had been really a great decay. Facts that really happened in this hotel made him rebaptize Hotel Homicide or Hotel Suicide. Think about that almost 80 people lost their lives in this cursed haunted hotel. Yes, homicides, possible suicides, mysterious deaths. At least 80 people died there. The hotel, with the passing of the years, it became more a hotel for travelers, passing hotel through people who stay 2 nights, a weekend, and then they left. It got bad fame. So the clients who went and stayed in the Cecil Hotel weren't the so-called crème de la crème. Because there were prostitutes, there were drug dealers, drug users, and it was said that there were illegal activities. In 2011, the name changed into Stay on Main. So it could have a better reputation, but another mysterious, creepy death hit hotel in 2013 when the student Elisa Lam died in a very mysterious way. And it was as accidental drowning, but I don't think so. In my opinion, Elisa was murdered. But in fact, still nowadays, the question is, what really happened? Elisa, the famous girl, the footage of her in the elevator of Cecil Hotel has been viral around the world. So some people say it was an accident. Some people, she had problems, so she took care on life. Other, no, it was murder. In my opinion, it was murder. Because when I'm going to make you watch what I'm going to make you watch, many of you will agree with me. So, but what happened in this hotel? Think about that the hotel, as I told you before, it was built in 1924. But already in 1927, an important guest named Percy shot at himself, killing himself. And in 1931, a guest took poison pills and took his own life. And think about, there was a woman, Grace, who fell down the hotel and died. And so the questions were suicide, homicide, an accident. In 1944, a woman whose name was Dorothy, she had just given birth to a baby, and she threw her baby out of the window of the Cecil Hotel, and the baby died. And the famous, wonderful Black Dahlia, real name Elizabeth Short, it is said that she had been seen the last times at the Cecil Hotel, and then we know they found her murdered. So, in 1964, Goldie Osgood, known as Piggy Lady, stayed at the Cecil Hotel, and her room was ransacked, and then she was brutally beaten, raped, and murdered. And in that hotel stayed not only one of the most famous and heinous serial killer of history, the Night Stalker Richard Ramirez, but also another ferox serial killer, an Austrian serial killer, Jack Unterweger. When he left prison in Austria, he moved to Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, and he killed at least 3 prostitutes. So, what really happened in that damn hotel? What really happened to Elisa Lam? Let's immediately discover it. Warning! Some images could disturb the sensitivity of the viewers. I start with a sum up, and then we delve deeper and deeper into these mysteries.
This is your LA in a minute, and I'm here in the historic core district of downtown at the former Hotel Cecil, which is one of the most notorious, haunted, cursed hotels in the world. Some quick background. The Hotel Cecil was built in 1924 for the then exorbitant sum of $2.5 million as a destination for business travelers and tourists. It boasted an opulent marble lobby with stained glass windows, potted palms, and an alabaster statuary. The first sign that something was amiss at the Cecil happened in 1927 when Percy Orman Cook shot himself in the head in his room after failing to reconcile with his family. In 1939, Grace McGrove fell from a 9th-story window, though police were unable to tell if she fell, jumped, or was pushed. Later that same year, Navy officer Erwin Neblett was found dead in his room after also ingesting poison capsules. In 1944, Dorothy Purcell was sharing a room at the Cecil with her boyfriend, and unaware she was pregnant, went into labor, had a baby boy, and threw the boy out the window to his death. These incidents were so commonplace, the Cecil started to be known as hotel suicide or hotel murder. Though the Cecil was once a fashionable destination, one of the reasons for its demise was its proximity to Skid Row. At one point, more than 10,000 homeless people lived within a 4-mile radius of the hotel. The hotel rented itself out for short-term and long-term stays, so it's much like a hostel, and thus the Cecil had a reputation for being welcome to sex workers, people down on their luck, and criminals. In 1947, the nefariousness of the Cecil was ratcheted up further when, according to the LAPD, Elizabeth Short, dubbed the Black Dahlia, was last seen drinking at a bar at the Cecil before her body was discovered in a grisly murder. In 1964, a lady named Pigeon Goldie, who fed nearby pigeons, was found raped, stabbed, and beaten in her room. In 1985, the hotel was the residence of serial killer Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Ramirez rented a room at the Cecil and engaged in most, if not all, of his killing spree while he stayed there. Another serial killer, Austrian Jack Unterweger, rented a room at the Cecil in 1991, perhaps to copy Ramirez, and while he was there, he strangled and killed at least 3 prostitutes. Finally, in 2011, the hotel rebranded as the Stay on Main. However, the hotel was the focus of attention in 2013 when Elisa Lam was seen acting bizarrely in an elevator. Lam disappeared shortly thereafter, and 19 days later, her naked, deceased body was found in a water cistern on the roof.
This is the Cecil Hotel.
Cecil, aka Hotel Death, known for its hundreds of bizarre deaths, serial killers, and unexplained phenomena.
2013, when a Canadian college student and hotel guest named Elisa Lam was found drowned in a closed water tank on the Cecil's roof after going missing 3 weeks earlier. However, the Cecil Hotel had been associated with crime and death for decades. The hotel's location near Los Angeles' Skid Row makes it a criminal hotspot, but its problems go back nearly a century. The Cecil's first on-site death was in 1931, when a guest killed himself. Since then, over a dozen deaths, including suicides, overdoses, and murders, have been documented at the Cecil Hotel, and the real count of deaths at the Cecil Hotel could be even higher. In the documentary, a former manager said that there must have been at least 80 deaths.
One of the Cecil
Regulars in the mid-1980s was none other than Richard Ramirez, the serial killer known as the Night Stalker. Richard Ramirez probably lived at the Cecil Hotel in 1985, near the end of his year terrorizing Los Angeles, during which he killed at least 14 people. Los Angeles historians Kim Cooper and Richard Chave said that Ramirez would return to the alley behind the hotel in the middle of the night and strip off his blood-covered clothing. The killer would then walk up to his room in nothing but his underwear, covered in blood. The killer to have stayed there. The Cecil was also the home base of an Austrian journalist named Jack Unterweger in 1991. Unterweger claimed to have been working on a story about the red light districts in Los Angeles, so it made sense that he'd be staying in Skid Row. He made friends with the police officers and sex workers in the area, and even went on ride-alongs, and was known to have women visit his room in the hotel, all under the guise of the story he was writing. What people didn't know, however, was that Unterweger was convicted of brutal killings in Austria before coming to the United States. He had been sentenced to life in prison in 1974, but was paroled after serving a decade and a half of his sentence. Upon release in 1990, the area where he lived began to see a spike in kidnappings and murders of local women. The police naturally suspected Unterweger, and he fled to California. Not long after, Los Angeles began to see a spike in murders of women. The Cecil Hotel was the perfect place to use as a base for his horrible crimes. He would strangle his victims with their own clothing, a practice that tied him to the deaths of 3 Los Angeles women, as he used a signature knot found on his victims elsewhere. Unterweger was arrested in Miami in 1992 and extradited to Austria, where he later killed himself in his jail cell.
Death becomes a pattern. A coincidence becomes a clue. A hallway becomes a threat, and a grainy elevator video becomes something people watch over and over, convinced there has to be something hiding in the frame.
Later, I will make you watch the entire footage of Elisa Lam in the elevator.
Pressing buttons, peering into an empty hallway, hiding in the corner like something is outside the doors, moving her hands in a way that is hard to explain, reacting to something we cannot see.
To understand better the story of the Cecil Hotel is necessary to go back. In the first 20s, Los Angeles was in bloom.
Downtown was becoming a city of hotels, theaters, banks, apartment buildings, department stores, and nightlife. People were arriving from all over the country, chasing work, money, reinvention, fame, sunshine, or whatever vision of Los Angeles they could be sold. The Cecil opened in 1924 as a
The Cecil Hotel was built in 1924.
700 rooms, a marble lobby, stained glass windows, palm trees at the entrance. It was built to be a grand destination for businessmen and tourists. And for a few years, it was exactly that. Then 1929 hit. The crash. The depression. Downtown Los Angeles changed in ways it never really recovered from.
And immediately, strange events happened, like suicides.
arrests and despair. People checked in under false names. People were found dead in rooms. Some died alone. Some jumped from windows. Some fell. Some left notes. Some.
In 1962, a woman whose name was Pauline
A ninth floor window after an argument with her estranged husband. She did not just die. She landed on a man walking on the sidewalk below. His name was George Giannini.
and then that man was killed instantly.
That made the Cecil infamous. Because when people talk about Elisa Lam now, she often gets flattened into an image. The elevator girl. The hotel mystery. The body in the tank. The creepy vibe.
And now it's the time to dive deeper in this mystery to discover what really happened. Here you see the wonderful Elisa Lam, who was a student.
She kept the blog, updated it almost every single day. Not the polished highlight reel stuff either. Real, honest writing about what was going on inside her head. Books she loved, places she wanted to go, how she was actually feeling. At the very top of her page, she had one quote penned that she clearly lived by. "You're always haunted by the idea you're wasting your life." She was 21 years old, a student at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. She loved Harry Potter. She was the kind of person who put real thought into everything she said. Her parents had moved from Hong Kong and built a life in Burnaby running a restaurant. They were proud of her. And when she told them she wanted to travel alone down the West Coast, they were worried, like any parents would be. She promised them she'd call every single day to check in, and she kept that promise, every single day, until one day she didn't. So in January 2013, Elisa set out alone on what she was calling her West Coast tour: San Diego, Los Angeles, Santa Cruz, San Francisco. She stopped at the San Diego Zoo and posted photos. She was loving every minute of it. Then she jumped on an Amtrak train and headed up to Los Angeles. Just her, a backpack, and her phone updating her blog the whole way. She arrived in Los Angeles on January 26th, and 2 days later. On January 28th, she checked into a hotel in the heart of downtown LA. It was called the Cecil Hotel. Part of it had been rebranded as Stay on Main, budget-friendly, central location, looked
January 31st, 2013.
2013. That was the day Elisa was supposed to leave, check out of the Cecil, catch a bus to Santa Cruz, and keep going on her trip. But her parents were waiting for something else that day. They were waiting for her call. She had called them every single day of that trip. So when the phone didn't ring, they didn't assume she was busy. They didn't assume she forgot. They knew. David and Elisa Lam called the LAPD that day and reported their daughter missing. Then they packed their bags and flew from British Columbia to Los Angeles. to find her themselves. When investigators got into her room, nothing had been touched. Her wallet was there. Her ID was there. Her laptop was there. Her medication was there. Everything she owned. Still sitting in that room, waiting for her to come back. No record of her checking out. Her phone was never found. She hadn't posted to her blog. She had just stopped. And for the first time, the dogs went through the entire building. They tracked her scent up to the 5th floor, to a window with access to a fire escape. And right there, the scent disappeared. On February 6th, police went public with flyers and a press appeal. Then on February 13th, they made a decision that changed everything about this case. They released the elevator footage. The footage is approximately 4 minutes long. It has been watched hundreds of millions of times since it was released. The time is the early hours of January 31st. The place is one of the Cecil Hotel's elevators. Elisa walks in wearing a red hoodie and presses several floor buttons. She waits. The doors don't close. She walks to the edge and looks out into the hallway. Slowly, left, then right. She steps back in, presses more buttons. Then she hides. She pushes herself into the corner of the elevator, partially out of frame, like she doesn't want to be seen. She looks out again, steps into the hallway, looks both directions. Nobody is there. She steps back in. Her hands begin moving in slow, fluid gestures. She appears to be speaking to someone, but no one else appears on that camera. Finally, Elisa walks out of frame. The elevator doors, which had been held open the entire time, slowly close. She was never...
And now you will understand why Elisa, even if she had mental disturbs, she wasn't crazy at all, because I'm sure she had been murdered and she wasn't mad at all. Look at this.
And at certain points, her attention appeared fixed on someone that only she could see. That detail is important. Keep it in mind. But the door hold button was not the only question people were asking about that video. The timestamp on the released footage had been obscured, and viewers identified what appeared to be nearly a full minute of footage missing. Some argued this was deliberate, that someone else had been in that elevator with her, and that someone was being protected. The hotel denied it. Investigators denied it. But the missing time was never fully explained to the public, not once. And for a lot of people who followed this case closely, that silence said more than any official statement could. While the theory spread online, the guests at the Cecil kept complaining. The water pressure was low. The color was wrong. The taste was off. On February 19th, maintenance worker Santiago Lopez climbed to the rooftop. He scaled a ladder to reach one of the 4 large water tanks. He opened the hatch, and he looked inside. Elisa Lam was floating face up, about 12 inches from the top of the tank. She was unclothed. Her clothes, her watch, and her room key were floating in the water beside her. The hatch was too small to remove her body. The Los Angeles Fire Department had to cut a hole in the side of the tank, and the guests of the Cecil Hotel had been drinking and bathing in that water for 19 days. An initial autopsy on February 21st came back inconclusive. The full report was not released until June 2013, 4 months later. The coroner's office originally ruled the manner of death as undetermined. Then they changed it. The final official finding: accidental drowning. Bipolar disorder.
This is the official original autopsy of Elisa Lam. Watch with your eyes. Watch. Resolved. The case was ruled as accidental death. 1 minute in the elevator missing, and in that minute also obscured. Of course that in that minute there was the killer who murdered Elisa Lam. Also because in the toxicology exams there are the medicines that Elisa took every day for her bipolar disorder. So she wasn't mad at all. she was murdered.
Trace amounts of her prescribed medications, including Wellbutrin, lamotrigine, and quetiapine, plus some over-the-counter drugs like ibuprofen. No illegal drugs, no alcohol. But the report drew sharp criticism almost immediately. The results of the rape kit and fingernail samples were never disclosed. The report did not even confirm whether they had been fully processed. The report also noted internal blood pooling. One pathologist said it could indicate sexual abuse. Another said it was consistent with decomposition. No definitive answer was given on that either. The coroner's own team went back and forth on their conclusion. They ruled it undetermined, then accidental. Even the lead investigator.
Then I will make you watch the incredible, the concrete proofs that it was impossible to drown in those tanks. When she arrived, she was in good mood.
Relatively normal. She was traveling.
Roommates complained.
And she was moved into a private room. That detail is easy to overlook. But it is important because it suggests that whatever was happening to Elisa, it did not begin in the elevator. The elevator footage is just the part we can see. On January 31st, 2013, Elisa Lam was last seen alive. Grabbed people. If you have not seen it, it is hard to explain without sounding like you're exaggerating. The footage is silent, grainy. A fixed security camera angled from inside the elevator. Elisa walks in, wearing a red hoodie, black shorts, and sandals. She presses multiple buttons, and then she steps back and waits. The doors do not close. She leans out into the hallway, looks left, looks right, and then quickly steps back inside. She moves into the corner of the elevator, pressing herself near the wall, almost like she was trying to hide from someone outside. The doors stayed open. That is the detail everyone notices. They stay open far longer than you expect. Long enough for your brain to start looking for a reason. Is someone holding the door? Is the elevator malfunctioning? Did she press a hold button?
Guests complain about the smell of the water.
There were 4 large tanks up there. These tanks supplied water to parts of the hotel, and inside one of them, they found Elisa Lam's body. February 19th, 2013, nearly 3 weeks after she was last seen. That is the moment the case crossed into nightmare territory.
But their roof...
Not meant for normal guest access. Reports described locked or alarmed routes, though there were also fire escape routes, and other practical questions about how someone could get up there. So, the official question became simple, but disturbing. Could Elisa have reached the roof? Could she have climbed into the tanks? Could she have opened one? Could she have gotten inside? And if she did, why? The official conclusion was accidental drowning. The coroner's and once people want a pattern badly enough, anything can become a clue, a name, a test, a location, a date, a building, a red hoodie, a malfunctioning elevator.
And now I make you see the original video of Elisa Lam in the elevator, the entire video. The video is, unfortunately, this is the original video, but it's without audio. So watch carefully. I want to remind you that her body was found naked into the tank. I really think that in the missing minute there is the killer who sexually assaulted her, murdered her, and threw her into the tank. Watch the full video. The elevator closes. It seems that somebody called it. At least one floor. And now, do you want to see how the Cecil Hotel is inside the most haunted and creepy rooms? And of course, then I return on the case of Elisa Lam. Watch. This hotel was built in 1924.
It was originally built as a fashionable hotel, but within a few years the Great Depression struck and it became more of a transient hotel. It's had a lot of attention in recent years. There have been an incredible number of deaths in the hotel, prompting one former employee to say, "Is there any room where someone hasn't died?" Tarnishing its reputation further, the sensational death of foreign student visitor Elisa Lam passed away.
You can see that they changed the name of the hotel with Stay on Main, but Hotel Cecil hasn't been removed. Watch here. Stay on Main. And this is the entering. You can see also on the floor there is still written Cecil Hotel. Look, it's still amazing. And it's pretty visible that it was built to be a luxurious hotel. You can see it would be really, really gorgeous. Look at the floor. And this was the room of Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. And now watch the path that Elisa Lam walked to arrive at the elevator. Look. The floor is still pretty beautiful. Then from a room, she walked into this hall. There was the shower. And where is the elevator? Here we are, the elevator in which the mystery happened. And now this is the roof of the hotel.
When we get to the water tanks, the one on the right in the very back, you'll see a wooden rickety ladder.
In one of these tanks, Elisa Lam was found. This is how they are in recent and how they were where Elisa Lam was found. That Elisa, it's still impossible, even in a moment of madness, because it's impossible.
Climb that rickety ladder to the top of that water tank.
No, impossible. And now, a shocking video. Do you want to see how the Cecil Hotel is right now? Because this video has been shot recently by a very courageous guy. And he will make you see how it was impossible for Elisa to do all these.
Showing you the same route that Elisa Lam took up to the roof where they found her dead inside of a water tank. I'm also going to be taking a stroll past Richard Ramirez's room, and I'm going to show you guys around Cecil Hotel to show you what it looks like today after housing Section 8.
Fourteenth floor.
So apparently, this is the same fire escape that Elisa Lam took up to the roof where she climbed into the water tank. Over 2 weeks, residents here at the hotel complained that the water was turning brown. When they sent maintenance workers up to the roof, they discovered Elisa Lam's body. There's the water tanks, guys. The famous water tanks that Elisa Lam was found in. That's so crazy. There they are. Holy cow. Right here, guys.
And here other difficulties.
Kind of want to. Let's check it out real fast. This is the water tank right here that they found Elisa Lam in.
Have you seen? Elisa was thin, wasn't an athlete. She couldn't do such a thing. And this is the elevator. Watch how it is right now.
That Elisa Lam was in?
Hotel. Guests say we tasted blood in the water at the Cecil Hotel just before Elisa's body found floating in the hotel water tank.
Absolutely true. You see her being terrified, raising her hands. It does seem like someone is after her. It has nothing to do with a ghost. It has much more to do with who is there, who don't we know about, how in the world did this happen?
There you see her hiding back in the corner of the elevator, the last known surveillance video of her. At the beginning, it looked like, I couldn't tell, was she punching a floor or some other button? Looking both ways, at one point gesticulating. What happened to this 22-year-old girl? As a matter of fact, who is she? Listen.
Elisa Lam is a
The
This
police!
dog picked up on her scent at a window leading to a fire escape, not on the fire escape itself. So, who dragged her body to the roof and put her in one of these cisterns? Look at how difficult it is to get in and out of the cistern. Could she have done that on her own? They've got a whole fleet of workers trying to look in there. So, other than the reputation of the Cecil, nothing suggests she took her own life.
So, Elisa has been murdered.